These simple ruins are the remains of a small village here in Galilee called Bethsaida. It meant Fishington or fishing village. Probably 800 people at most, maybe in 8 to 10 families, not far from the shore of the Sea of Galilee. Not the kind of place I would think of to go to find disciples who are going to change the world. Look around you. Just a simple, what's called an insula. Extended family lived here. Over here I see what they think is the kitchen. Just a small room, maybe 40, 50, 60 people lived in this community, and that's where they prepared food. There's kind of a residence room, maybe a sleeping room or a room where people worked. Here's an open courtyard just out under the sky. But notice, no theaters, no stadium, no university, gymnasium as we saw it yesterday. Just very simple rural village in Galilee. He came here. To me, shocking, stunning. What in the world is he doing leaving there to come here? He's in an area here called the Triangle by some. It's a place where religious Jewish folks lived in the first century. People who were passionate about God, passionate about their way of life, passionate about obedience, passionate about the text. And they lived in small villages. Up there is Chorazin, and over there is Capernaum. And this one is called Bethsaida, Fishington, just a simple village. Now, I'd like to have you picture something. Imagine in this courtyard, children playing. Mom and dad sitting over there, grandpa, children playing. Imagine now 5 little boys, dark hair, dark eyes, running around in some kind of a game. You see them? Let me give you some names. Peter, Andrew, James, John, Philip. All 5 of those disciples came from this village. Think of who came out of this little town, a town of a few hundred people, maybe 6, 8, 10 family units, all of whom knew each other. Think of who came out of this place. I'll say it again. Peter, Andrew, James, John, and Philip. Now, can you imagine that Jesus came here to this simple place, simple stones, ordinary way of life, and picked those 5 young men to be his disciples? So why does he come here? Well, I don't know the answer to that question. There probably are many answers, some of which I may never know, or you either, but it's in Galilee, right here, where the whole idea of disciple was most prominent in the ancient world. This is where people came to be disciples of the great rabbis. God had arranged history so that out of all the places in the world, this is where that whole practice was happening. And so Jesus came here to make disciples. So what's a disciple? What really was it? And does that help us to understand both why Jesus' message exploded out into the world, and does it have anything to say about what it means to be a disciple today? So if you'll come with me, let's go find out what was discipleship. Come. We've come about 3 miles west of Bethsaida. We're a little bit north of the Sea of Galilee, and we're in the ruins of a town called Chorazin. It was a little bigger than Bethsaida was in biblical times, but not terribly large, maybe somewhere in the area of 2,000 or so. And you can see its construction, the color of the stones, the way it's laid out is really what you saw at Bethsaida, not much different. About the same economic level, no fishing here, of course, because we're away from the sea. We've come here because we want to know, what did it mean to be a disciple? What's a disciple? Well, I'd like to suggest there are several building blocks. One is represented here. They lived in community. In this insula was an extended family, grandpas, grandmas, moms, dads, cousins, uncles, aunts. An extended family, maybe more than 100 people who lived here around this central courtyard, and their whole life was knit together. They had the same occupation, they had the same commitment to God, they went together to the feasts in Jerusalem. Their life with God was a community life. So they supported one another, encouraged one another, corrected one another. And one of the building blocks of discipleship is community. They were willing to live with a rabbi as a community of disciples. The world we live